they would show people's faces, and you could tell there was like a statistically significant ability for people to tell based on somebody's face whether or not they were wealthy or not wealthy. And
financial stress wrinkles.
They're not only
100%,
yes,
I believe
it's
it.
financial stress wrinkles, but also people who do not have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, where if the roof over their head is going to stay there. They are able to sleep better at night. They are able to plan long term, because if you are truly trying to make ends meet paycheck to paycheck, like it's really hard to have a long-term 5-year, 10-year goal or to have that vision. And so then instead of finding the right job, you're finding the right now job. And it's probably a job that works you very hard, does not pay you very well.
Sucks all your energy out.
Sucks all your energy out. And on top of all of that, you don't get to have those little moments of joy that the little treat does give you. That treating yourself when you've hit a career milestone gives you. And so when we talk about financial wellness, it's not just for the sake of having the lime green Lambo and the golden toilet. It's having financial wellness and financial security is going to make your entire life richer.
Hello, hello, Hill Squad. Welcome back. Today we have a really great episode for you. I'm so excited to share. But first, our quote of the day has to do with the topic. If you want to be financially free, you need to become a different person than you are today and let go of whatever has held you back in the past. And that is from Robert Kiyosaki. Thank you, Robert, for that. Because today, friends, we are going to talk financial health, and we're going to learn so much from our new rich BFF, somebody I've been following on social media and loving her advice, loving the way she targets and handles all of this. And so today, Vivian, too, is joining us. She's a former Wall Street trader turned personal finance expert. She's a host and New York Times bestselling author and has been turning finance into fun-nance. Now, Kevin did have a mini heart attack in the middle of this, a little stress moment, but by the end, he was feeling great, and you will too. After realizing how little personal finance is taught in schools, she began to create her own informational videos on TikTok with an underlying mission of helping women, people of color, and marginalized communities become financially literate and independent. Friends, she's been doing this in a really fun way with her own personal stories, trying to make money talk less taboo for the millions of her rich BFFs. Her debut book, Rich AF, was an instant New York Times bestseller. She hosts the top-ranked business podcast, Net Worth and Chill, and her work has earned her recognitions on the Forbes annual 30 Under 30 top creators lists. Guys, in this first part with Vivian, because this is a two-parter, we're going to talk about why you can and should be negotiating your medical bills, because 80% of them have inaccuracies. That's crazy. And I know because I just got a refund check from one inaccuracy. The surprising way to set up your estate planning and why it's non-negotiable, and plus how to make saving and investing super easy with your rich BFF, and so much more. Okay, well, first of all, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. I'm obsessed with all your content, and that's why I was like, okay, we have to have you on the show.
I'm happy to be here and really excited to chat.
And I think you have a line you've always wanted to say, so we just should get that out of the way.
Oh, okay. Hi. I'm Maria Menounos.
Okay, so you've been watching me say that for a long time, you said, and you've always wanted to say it, so there you go.
I mean, you're such an icon, and I feel like I look up to you in a sense. Like, I would love to have part of your illustrious career, so I'm very excited to chat.
Thank you. Well, you're doing great. I saw your billboard in New York, in Times Square. I've had that moment, which it's like so exciting to see. Mm-hmm. But you've built such a great brand, and you started out on Wall Street. Mm-hmm. So I want everyone in the Heal Squad to kind of understand, because we talk about financial health as part of your health, like your overall health.
It is.
And I really am excited to share you with them, because there's a lot that you can get us up to speed on. And I always say, just like you can't farm out your financial stuff, you can't farm out your health. You have to be the CEO of your health, of your financials, your life. And so you're going to help us with that today. But I want them to know a little bit about how you got into this.
Yeah. So I am the only daughter to two Chinese immigrant parents, super duper loving. But I would say frugal is an understatement. I grew up with a lot of save, budget, but there wasn't a lot of emphasis placed on growing your wealth, making a lot of money, investing that money, because that was something that was for other people, like rich people, and that wasn't us. But
what did your parents do when they came here?
So my mom was a chemist in a pharmaceutical lab, and my dad, he worked in computer science, computer engineering, computer programming. But I would say, like, for them, education always felt like the key to social and economic mobility, which is such a story for like so many immigrant families. Mm-hmm. So I was a very, very big nerd, big student, graduated valedictorian of my high school. Nice. I don't get to tout that stat enough, so I'm definitely making sure everyone knows.
I love it.
But I end up going to the University of Chicago, which is very well known to be a feeder school for Wall Street. Junior year rolls around. I have no idea what I want to be when I grow up. So I end up interviewing for some finance jobs. And fortunately for me, I ended up with an internship and then ultimately a full-time offer to be a equities trader at JP Morgan, which is just a fancy way of saying I was a stock trader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then that took you to Wall Street.
Yes, that took me to Wall Street. I started my career there, cut my teeth there. And it was really wonderful for the first year and a half. But as Wall Street shakeups happen, the head of my desk got let go. You know, half of my team either left or got fired by this new guy. And he brought in a bunch of new people that I didn't know, that I hadn't built that rapport with. And imagine having the first year and a half of your career straight out of school. People are calling you names like superstar, rock star. Like, you really feel like you're finding your groove. You're making good money. But then everything changes overnight with this whole new team, basically. Mm-hmm. And I get reassigned from my first mentor and manager, who was the only other woman, only other Asian person on the team. And suddenly I work for a man who doesn't respect me. He didn't like the fact that I was a girl. He didn't like how my nails click-clacked on the keyboard, and which is so insane, right, to even say out loud.
Yeah.
But the straw that broke the camel's back was one day I came into the office with a cardigan on, and he looked at me and he put his hands together and bowed and he said, "Is that a kimono?" And you know that feeling when your face just gets hot?
Yes.
And there's like a lump in your throat and you have nothing to say back? I sat down in my seat, and then when I had composed myself, I went over to my initial manager, my mentor, who was still there, and I said, "I'm quitting today." And she said, "Don't be an idiot. You don't have another job lined up." And I said, "Okay, fine, fair." She said, "Grit it out. We'll talk after the close of the market." And I told her what had happened. And she, I'm sure, was devastated. As another Asian woman, to hear that said to someone that you've been mentoring, someone that you clearly cared about. She treated me with, a lot of respect, a lot of love. And she was tough on me. Let's be clear. Like, you don't get a free pass on Wall Street just because someone likes you. But she was fair. And she would say things like, "I didn't like how you executed that last trade. You're better than that. Do better next time." And that's fair. That's a critique of my work. And, I'm very, very new. That's fine. But when the critiques from this guy started to be about my identity, about my personality, about my person, I knew I was never going to be able to change in a way that could get me ahead in this career. Mm-hmm. So I had to go. That was the beginning of the end. But I'm so lucky. Through my first manager mentors network, I was actually able to get a job in the tech and media space. So I leave Wall Street and I start my career as a digital media salesperson at BuzzFeed. And all of my new colleagues, I was desperate for friendship. During the lunch tables, we would chat and I would say, "I came from Wall Street." And the follow-up question to that, or the follow-up statement would be, "Can you help me rebalance my 401k? Which health insurance plan did you pick? Are our company stock options worth anything?" And I got so many of the same questions. I was encouraged by these people to say, "Hey, put that on the internet, because that way you don't have to have 7 people lining up at your desk."
Yeah, just make it for the mass.
Yeah, make it for the mass. So I made Your Rich BFF not for everybody, not to become a creator, to help like my 7 friends at work.
Yeah.
And turns out a lot more people needed that info than just my friends.
Millions of people. Kevin's in the studio today. So, honey, did her story sound at all familiar?
Mm-hmm.
It just reminded me of when I was at E, and I don't care, I'm just going to say it. But when I was at E, the people that brought me in were these lovely women. They were so excited. They had such big visions for me and what we were going to do there. And then something happened and they were all gone.
Yeah.
And there were new people that came in, and I had a very similar experience.
Yeah.
But I will say what I've learned, because that wasn't the only rough experience, what I've learned is these people are there. They're meant in your storyline to push you to where you're supposed to go. And so you were supposed to do this.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
a little bit of pain to get to where we got to go.
I hate that guy, but I am grateful that he exists, because without him making me feel so horrible, I would never have left. I would have stayed in that career because
I say the same thing.
It's an excellent paying career.
Yep.
I would have continued up the ladder and I wouldn't have what I have now.
Yeah.
And so...
A quick question.
Which means you get to be, what you have right now, to be clear, is autonomy. You are your own boss. You wake
own the
up
company.
every day, you do what you want. I said this to Kevin the other day, like it's just kind of hitting me. I mean, I've had so many health struggles that I'm just kind of waking up to some stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I am doing so well, and I get to do whatever I want, and I get to go on vacation when I want, and I get to like make my own choices because I'm my own boss. And I'm so grateful that he helped kind of push me. But these people, all these monsters on my yellow brick road, helped push me too.
Exactly.
So it's pretty exciting. What were we going to say, Kev?
Oh, it just wasn't important. I just want to know, like, does anyone in Wall Street get punched in the face?
Yeah.
Just like quick, you know what I mean? Like, I just like, you know what I mean? Like, to say something like this, it's like, you haven't been punched in the face.
Right.
Yeah.
This man had a very punchable face. However, I think maybe back in the 80s when people were literally making millions of quadrillions of dollars and like it was the wild, wild west, sure. These days you got to have a little bit more decorum, so people are nasty with their words.
I come from a place of like, I kind of knew the answer to my own question. Like, that guy had never been punched in the face.
Never.
No, because people in Hollywood talk like that too, and it's like, yeah, never been punched in the face. I digress. Get back to your interview.
Because if you have, you'd be a little more careful. So you decided to start putting these videos out, and so everybody knows your Instagram is Your Rich BFF. And you have really done such a great job at putting out these clips that are just bite-sized, amazing information. So do you ever feel stumped on what to like put out next? Like, do you ever feel like I've already done so many things? Like, what else can I say?
No, not necessarily, but it's because I'm very lucky. Social media in itself is a renewable resource. There's a feedback loop. Every single piece of content that I create, I get thousands of comments, and many of those comments are actually questions, and they direct me to the next video. So if I put out a piece of content about how to take care of your aging parents, there's a zillion follow-up questions. So that doesn't just become one video, it becomes the taking care of your parents series, or how to take care of your newborn to make sure that they are financially set up. Like, I make one video, there's probably 10 that follow. And I'm very lucky that my audience is very, very hungry for this information. And I think it's such a shame that we don't teach it in public schools, because we learn 12 years of math, science, history, reading. But I feel like the one topic that all of us, unless you're truly living off the grid and farming your own food and, you know, making your own electricity, like, everybody needs to use money, and we need to be smart about it to give us the lifestyle we want.
Yeah.
And we don't teach anything at a federal level.
So is that your next thing?
You already know it. I think the ultimate goal for
should be.
Your Rich BFF has been, this is a financial equity platform, meaning for so long, financial services has catered to people who were already rich, people who were relatively older, people who were male, people who were white. And suddenly, when you look at what the average American looks like, they look like me. They look like all of my girlfriends. They look at the next generation of people aren't necessarily the people you see on CNBC.
Yeah.
And so what I realized, I was so worried when I first started this too, because I was like, well, I'm so grateful to be succeeding in spite of the fact that I'm like a young Asian woman. But I started to realize I wasn't succeeding in spite of it. I was succeeding because of it. there had never been someone who looked like me and talked about money like a best friend instead of a college professor. And suddenly there was no judgment. Your girlfriend doesn't judge you for that ugly outfit you bought or the fact that you called that guy that nobody likes back. But like, we need to be talking about this like friends to make it so fun and accessible that people don't mind sharing about their finances and making finance a regular topic as sexy as talking about pop culture.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be. And we do have to teach kids younger because we're going out into the world without the real foundation that we need. And finances is one of them. Health is another. Those are the things that we really need out in the world. We don't need to know the Pythagorean theorem. We just don't. I'm sorry. Like, we just don't.
Like, maybe we learn about it for like a day, but then we can move on because...
But if I'm going to pick one or the other, I'm learning investing. I'm learning about 401k. I'm learning about that stuff that's actually going to help me in life.
How to file a tax return. Because the first year I did mine, I thought I was going to jail. And I think that's such a normal feeling of like the 22-year-old who's like, I made money for the first time out of school and now I don't feel like I'm doing this tax return correctly. Like, that is such a universal feeling and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But I also just love the idea of like giving people the tools to succeed. We've heard time and time again, like, there's a shrinking middle class. And it's because people at the top of the food chain know rules that they are learning through generational wealth, through their parents, through their grandparents, through their extended family and their social circles, that unfortunately, if you are middle class or you are, lower income, you're not getting that education in school. And so if you don't have family that can give you that education, you're not getting it at all.
Yeah. So how did you go from your parents kind of being more scarcity minded, it sounds like, and just, trying to keep what they had? Yeah. My dad was even though we were janitors and didn't have a lot, like, he was about investing. He did have stocks.
Yeah.
And I learned from him and bought my first stock in college. in high school.
Yeah.
When I was, when I won a pageant, I took that money. I was like, I'm investing it because that's what you do. How did you make that shift and kind of what drove that?
I think one of the most important things in your life is to have mentorship. My first manager was also, one of my biggest influences. And at first I wanted to be like her for incredibly shallow reasons. She'd walk into work with a new pair of Gucci stilettos and a new Chanel bag and like something fancy every day. And I was like, I want to be like you. I want to have what you have. She was, one of the only people I knew who owned their apartment in New York City. And I was like, I need to be exactly like you. But also, she was the first person to be like, are you contributing to your 401k? Have you invested that money? And I was like, what? And she sat me down one afternoon and clicked me through our workplace portal and showed me how to do it and said, this is how old you are. This is when you'll likely retire. These are what investments probably make sense for you. And she helped me do that in a way that, she was like a big sister to me. And I didn't have that. And so I was very lucky to have a budgeting, saving mindset already in place. I was good at those things. But without her, I would never have started thinking about investing or growing my wealth. And, I heard the guys on the desk, if we were having like a slow summer Friday afternoon, they'd be talking about investment ideas. And people would be like, oh, I've got some cash sitting around. Like, you have a friend who's, raising a fund. Like, can I contribute? And it was so strange to me that these people were just dying to give away their money. And I was like, you don't want to like keep this under your mattress. You don't want to put this in a savings account. You don't want to do anything. Like, what are you trying to do? And it became very clear to me that they were less worried about scrimping and saving and hiding cash under the mattress the way that, maybe my parents were. They wanted to make that money work hard for them. That money had to go to work. And that was what really allowed many of these people to have the type of wealth that they had. It wasn't just that they were making great incomes. It was the fact that when they got that money in their hands, they were deploying it and putting it to work.
That's, I think, one of the things that people really don't understand. And it took me to read Tony Robbins' book, Money Master the Game. Yeah. To really start understanding money in a bigger way. And you wrote your Rich BFF as well,
so
which
I have Rich AF. It's my New York Times best-selling book. And it's really finance education for the next generation. So I feel like the generation above mine had Tony Robbins. They had the Rich Dad Poor Dads, the richest man in Babylon. But things have changed. The game is not what it used to be. I feel like the generation before mine was playing Guitar Hero on tutorial, and now we are playing on advanced because statistically, it's true. Wages have stagnated. The cost of education has 10x'd in the past 50 years. It is now cheaper to rent than buy in 70% of all US markets. And not to mention, we have a student loan debt crisis in this country. So I needed to write a book that helped teach personal finance while addressing all of these external factors that we can't control and show people that, yeah, it is harder than it was before. It's not going to be easy. But if you follow these steps, if you follow these rules, I can show you how to be rich AF, and you can have fun while doing it. You don't have to give up every single thing that makes you happy today.
Yeah, I love when you're like, a Starbucks coffee a day, if you take it out, isn't going to make you rich.
No.
But the mentality that we all kind of grew up with was, okay, you're going to skimp wherever you can.
Yes.
And I was such a saver. And so I kind of watched, that work, but then I learned making money off the money.
Yeah.
So when you have money in the bank, it's like, okay, what are you going to invest it in to make whatever, 8% off of it or whatever you're going to make? And then that money's just making money all the time and then compounding. And I learned all of that stuff through Tony. And anybody who has proximity to me in a long way, which these guys unfortunately see me once a week, so they don't really get this from me. Kelsey, who was with me every single day, my other friends, my number one thing I'm teaching them outside of their health is their financial health. I'm always like, you've got to be, doing X, Y, and Z. And also, I'm also teaching people one of the things in my first book was, before you're buying Chanel bags, you better own some shit.
Yeah.
You better own your condo, your car. Like, don't be going and spending your money over there because that's just not going to get you what you want. And I laugh about the fact that I've made an extreme amount of money for me at least, over these years, and I've owned 3 Chanel bags my whole life.
Right.
Like, that's it. I bought one when I got my huge deal at NBC. I had 3 milestones where I was like, okay, I'm going to do it.
I deserve something. Yeah.
It just sounded insane what the price tag came with. And I was like, I'd rather own. And I own multiple properties. I have a lot of, investments that made me feel good about doing that.
Yeah, 100%. And to your point, we say the term like health is wealth, but wealth is also health.
It is.
There actually was a study that researchers did that they would show people's faces, and you could tell there was like a statistically significant ability for people to tell based on somebody's face whether or not they were wealthy or not wealthy. And
financial stress wrinkles.
They're not
100%, I believe it.
Financial stress wrinkles, but also people who do not have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, if the roof over their head is going to stay there. They are able to sleep better at night. They are able to plan long term, because if you are truly trying to make ends meet paycheck to paycheck, like, it's really hard to have a long-term 5-year, 10-year goal or to have that vision. And so then instead of finding the right job, you're finding the right now job. And it's probably a job that works you very hard, does not pay you very well.
Sucks all your energy out.
Sucks all your energy out. And on top of all of that, you don't get to have those little moments of joy that the little treat does give you.
Yeah.
That treating yourself when you've hit a career milestone gives you. And so when we talk about financial wellness, it's not just for the sake of having the lime green Lambo and the golden toilet. It's having financial wellness and financial security is going to make your entire life richer.
Yeah. So now, how does the person that is working a job they're not really happy at, who's having some health struggles, and you know how costly those are, how do they go about having some kind of long-term plan where they could still have some joy?
Yeah. Well, I think we have to address the two sides of that coin, right? First and foremost, the costs of health are very, very expensive. They need to be negotiating every single medical bill that comes in.
Excuse me, did you say negotiating a medical bill?
Baby, we got some stuff to talk about
Let's
here.
talk about that.
Yeah. So many people, and Maria included, seem to think that medical bills are what they are. And that when you get charged a medical bill, you have to pay it. Doesn't work like that.
She's blowing my mind.
Yeah.
This is why I love my rich BFF. Go ahead.
So
You know you're going to be my new BFF anyway.
Oh, without a doubt. You can text me after this. So medical bills are actually very negotiable. And in fact, unfortunately, 80% of medical bills have errors in them. Imagine getting a 20% in a class and having that be a passing grade.
Wow.
So what I do when I get a medical bill, I immediately ring up whatever office, the hospital, whatever, and I say, can you please provide me an itemized bill? You would be shocked the number of random things that just kind of fall off. Oh, you accidentally charged me for 2 x-rays? I'm not paying for 2, I only got 1. And so just make sure you have an itemized bill so you know exactly what all of it is. Then you are going to look line item by line item, and you can go to something called like Healthcare Blue Book and show, based on the medical bill coding, what it is and what it should cost on average. So you're like, wait, I got given essentially hospital Advil. Why is this $750 when on average it should be closer to $250 or $300? You can then go and speak to that facility and be like, was this coded correctly? You can have those conversations. But the other thing,
before you get there, how do you do that easily though? Because that sounds like so much red tape and so many calls, and I'm already frustrated I got the bill.
Okay, yes, but many places now actually allow you to have a conversation with their billing department via email, via text, whatever. So you don't have to necessarily sit on hold for 3 hours.
Okay.
It can be something that you just do over a period of time.
And you call the hospital billing department.
You want to talk to the billing department.
Okay.
Here's the other big thing. Sometimes these hospitals know that if they don't work with you, they will not get paid at all. So what you can actually do is call them and say, hey, I'd love to pay this bill in full. Unfortunately, it's $5,000. I can pay $2,000 today, but I would need the rest of the bill to be waived so that I can pay you today. And many times, oh, magically, your bill's only $2,000 now.
Guys, Heal Squad, what is this advice?
Also, I would check, so many of us have insurance. Ask them to see what it would cost if you paid out of pocket. You never know. Sometimes out of pocket's actually cheaper because they know that you don't have the insurance company backing you. Because when they know insurance paying for it, they're going to rack up those charges.
Yeah. Those prices go. I mean, a glass of water is $5,000 now.
Correct. So you do that. Wow. And for our friends who are definitely like lower to middle income, many hospitals across America are actually nonprofits. So to get some of that government funding, to get some of that tax advantaged, tax classification as a nonprofit, they have to provide charity care, which essentially means you're going to go to whatever hospital you're at and search charity care. And they have pay bands where if you make a certain multiplier above the poverty line based on your, the median income in your area, you may only be responsible for a portion or none of your entire bill because these hospitals have to offer charity care.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah.
See, it's the stuff, like you said, that the very wealthy know and they pass on to their families. Like, these are things that people, first of all, I don't think anybody, rich or poor, really knows this stuff.
No,
because I think
get
medical stuff gets really scary.
Yes.
Medical stuff is terrifying. And so I'm so glad you just shared that, because it is a huge burden for people, and it's only going to get worse, especially with the rise of illnesses after COVID, and the rise of Alzheimer's and dementia, which is going to explode, or it already is exploding. And then you also talk about caring for your parents. Is that something you've had to do?
Not yet. I'm lucky. I will say I have had to have mindful estate planning conversations with my parents. They are, they're Chinese immigrants. They certainly have a level of distrust against financial advisors or, things like that. They are like, the easiest and best way to manage our money is where we can see it. And so I had to have a conversation with them, and they were like, well, we're not super duper rich. And I was like, well, you still need to open up a trust for me. And they're like, trusts are for rich people. I'm like, no. We can put the family home into this trust. So when the time comes, when they are 110 and, go to heaven, like overnight, they pass, I get the home. If you do not have a will in place, if you do not have those trusts in place, your children will then have to wait for months and months and months to deal with probate, aka going to the court system, to be like, yes, I can prove these are my parents. Yes, I can prove that they want me to have this property. Don't even begin to start with if you have siblings that are fighting over what mom and dad had. Doing end of life planning, doing estate planning is how rich people stay rich, because it essentially just allows them to outline exactly what they want to happen, what is going to who, and when. And it's very simple.
It can be expensive, though.
It can, if you have something very, very complicated, hiring, a good accountant, an attorney, all of that. But it's becoming more and more accessible these days, especially with more simplistic situations. If it's just you and, your mom and dad are a little older, they have standard W-2 jobs, and they own the family home. There are tons of boilerplate trust setup documents, wills, that you can just work with the equivalent of like an AI software to get you to 95% of the way there on your legal documents. Then you work with a human attorney to really, really get to that 5%, all done, wrap it up nice in a bow. And instead of it being thousands of dollars, it's hundreds of dollars. And it's certainly worth doing.
I like that. You get it all done and simplify it as much as you can.
Yes.
And you spend 1 or 2 hours with a lawyer rather than 100 hours.
Right. Exactly.
So how do young people like Nike and Dwayne over there start looking at their financial health, and what do they start doing? Like, what are the baby steps, the kindergarten versions?
So when people ask me, they're like, I want to be rich AF. I want to have money. What do? I always tell them, you need to strip. And then the eyes get big and they're like, wait, am I in the wrong line of work?
All of their eyeballs just...
Yeah. Strip is...
And they're ready to strip,
Yeah,
too.
they're ready. They're like,
I can be rich if I just strip right now?
Yeah, they're like, I'll take it off. No, strip is an acronym, and it stands for a bunch of steps that are really important to kind of get your financial footing. So S, savings. My biggest recommendation is always have an emergency fund. If you are a singleton, 3 to 6 months of living expenses into a high yield savings account, so the money that you have set aside for a rainy day is earning you interest so that it continues to grow and keeps up with inflation.
But those don't exist anymore. High yield savings accounts. What is the highest that you're getting?
You can get anywhere between 4 to 5%.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh.
APY.
That was bad for a while. Maybe I've missed the boat on the return.
So think about it this way. As interest rates go up,
that's when it went up.
The high yield savings accounts interest rates go up. But also so do mortgage rates.
Yeah.
So do car loan rates. As interest rates from the Fed announced go up, everything goes up. As they come down, they all come down.
Got it.
So
this was the moment to be putting in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So high yield savings accounts right now are very, very competitive.
Okay. That is because
4 to 5% is
bonds are around the same thing.
Correct.
Bonds are like 5-ish.
And with a high yield savings account, your money's not locked up. It's just a regular savings account.
Oh, I love that. I might be switching over to the high yield savings account
after this.
Yeah.
T is total debt. A lot of us have debt. So what you want to do is rank your debt from highest to lowest interest rate, and then make the minimum payment across everything. And then any additional funds you have for debt pay down, put towards the debt with the highest interest rate. The reason you want to do this is math. When you tackle your debt with the highest interest rate, that is your scariest and growiest debt. And you're going to be able to pay your debt down faster while paying less in interest. And then I would make sure that you're paying all of your high interest rate debt off first, so anything above 7%. But then the rest of it, you can kind of keep making the minimum payment, slow roll it, and then move on to the rest of strip. R is retirement. We want to make sure we are taking advantage of tax-advantaged retirement accounts. So for people who have regular jobs, that's the 401k, the 403b. For people who might work for themselves, that's the solo 401k, the self-employed IRA. And then just for any sort of an individual, you could have an IRA or a Roth IRA. These are going to give you tax benefits. We love tax benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not enough just to have those retirement accounts. You have to invest. What people do is they open up these accounts, they put some cash in, and they're like, I'm done.
Yep.
No, you are not. You now just have cash sitting in a tote bag is basically what it is, a virtual tote bag. You actually need to take that cash and buy stuff. And that stuff includes target date retirement funds. It includes index funds. It includes maybe sector funds if there's a sector of industry that you're incredibly passionate about or feel positively about. And if you still don't know what any of that means and this is making your head spin, you can always just sign up for your account at a robo-advisor. What you'll do is you'll open the account. They'll make you take a quick quiz about your money goals. Like
robo-advisor, like you go to robo-advisor.com?
No. So you just search best robo-advisor 2024, and there's a full list of robo-advisors that you could look at. So examples are SoFi, Wealthfront, Betterment. There's a ton out there that you can use, but you just take a quiz about how much you make, how much you have, when you want to retire, what your family looks like, where you live, all of that information.
And they give you advice.
A portfolio that's built for you. And then once we go from I, P is plan. You do not get to have happily ever after. You don't get to ride off into the sunset without a plan. And you need to figure out, what does your happily ever after look like? Do you want to retire at 30 and live in an Airstream and never buy shoes again? Not me. Or you want to retire closer to more traditional age, 60, but you want a vacation home. You want to help your kids through college. You want to make sure Pickles, your bulldog, can afford the really fancy food that comes in the packets instead of kibble. Like, you get to have your happily ever after, but you have to calculate what you think on average that's going to cost and then forecast how to get you there.
Yeah, planning is important.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to talk about some other plans for a second, Vivian, because I have to talk about the people who help us keep the lights on. Mm-hmm. And one of those is Macy's. Did you ever have a job at Macy's?
I didn't.
I feel like so many of us have.
I did buy my homecoming dress from Macy's.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Valedictorian, how to get snazzy, right?
That's right.
So we are nearing the end of the summer, friends, and we're heading into early holiday season, perhaps. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we're saying that. So regardless of what you are preparing for, Macy's is here to make sure that you look and feel your best. Vivian, I love their personal styling program because it's free. I'm sure you would
love
that. We love free and we love looking our best, so they're going to help you with that. There's, of course, a lot of back to school stuff and so much more. So if you need some inspiration on where to get started on any of this, you can check my wish list that I personally curated inside the podcast description. Let me know what you guys ended up with. And of course, our friends at Wonderful Pistachios. We're big pistachio fans here.
Yum.
Kevin and I love our pistachios. 6 grams of protein in every 1 ounce serving. That's over your 10% daily value. I put them in my salads. He puts them in the yogurt. I actually was going to make that cheesecake with a pistachio crust and see how we like that. A mashed up pistachio. We did walnuts the other day and it was really good.
Qualify your cheesecake.
Qualify?
Yes, your cheesecake was what?
Oh, sugar-free, gluten-free, all the frees.
All the
frees.
frees.
It was delicious, yeah. But I love my sweet chili and salt and vinegar Wonderful Pistachios the most. So those are not going to go at the base of my cheesecake, but they will go in my mouth and I love them. So friends, visit wonderfulpistachios.com and let us know what flavor you end up with. So, Strip, I want to ask Dwayne and Nike, and if you guys care to share, are you guys in debt?
Yes.
Okay. Is it like
Dwayne answered kind of quickly.
Credit card?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what you're paying percentage-wise?
What
your
around
interest rate
like
is?
14%.
14%.
That feels light.
That feels really light.
Yeah.
I have a few of them.
Dwayne, the average credit card's annual
30?
percentage rate is 20 to 30%.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm curious.
Yeah, me too.
Dwayne, we should check.
So
We'll check after this.
you have a couple of credit cards.
Yes.
Dwayne. Oh,
Dwayne.
okay. All right.
It was a long road to get from Florida to here.
Okay.
That's very fair.
Long, bumpy road.
Nike, do you have credit card debt?
I have no debt, actually.
Yes, queen.
So,
Hey.
my parents kind of just instilled from a very young age, just pay your credit card in full and keep moving. And that's just I set up my automatic payments and I just pay it like that. So yeah, no credit card debt over here. And I'm hopefully going to keep it that way. I know there's good debt and bad debt, but I'm young and I just want no debt right now. So
That's
where I'm
awesome.
at.
But I do have a little advice for Dwayne. If you want to make your credit card payments and your debt a little bit more manageable,
Consolidate.
that's right, baby. So you can either do one of two things. Depending on how much credit card debt you have, you could try something called a balance transfer card. So a balance transfer card is another credit card, but if you have a amount of debt that you think you can pay down in 12 to 18 months, if the interest payments were to stop being so crazy high, you can actually get a balance transfer card. There is a small fee associated with it, but they would then take all the debt from all those credit cards and throw it onto this new credit card, and you would get 0% interest for an introductory period, so 12 to 18 months.
Saves you a lot of money.
You don't pay interest for 12 to 18 months, but you better be making principal payments like crazy. Get that thing paid down, paid off, because at 12 or 18 months, that interest rate is going to shoot right back up to that 20 to 30.
Got it.
Or if you have a larger sum of credit card debt, what you can do is actually get something called a personal loan. So you go to the bank and you're like, hello, bank, I have a decent credit score. I would like a personal loan. You'll apply for how much you need. They will give you the loan. They'll deposit the money into your bank account. You will take that money and pay down all of your credit cards. You will then cut them and you will not spend on them,
Yes, Dwayne.
because that's the thing that people get in trouble with. They get the personal loan and then they still keep spending, but you're going to cut them, and then you will pay back that personal loan instead of the credit cards, because credit card debt typically has a 20 to 30% interest rate, while personal loans can be anywhere between 7 to 15 right now. And so you're saving a meaningful chunk, and there is no like real like crazy time expiry where that interest rate is going to shoot back up. So if you need a little bit more time, a personal loan could be a good idea as well.
Those are really great tips. Thank you.
I think she just saved your life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel saved just hearing it. So how do you get a balance transfer credit?
A balance transfer card?
Yeah,
You
card.
Would,
yeah.
You would just contact the financial institution with the balance transfer card that you'd want to utilize, and say, this is an offer I'd like to take advantage of. They do typically want to make sure that your credit score is above a certain amount. So make sure your credit score is in a good spot. But they'll charge you a fee to do the balance transfer. And then once you pay that fee, they will make sure that all of your other credit cards are paid off and the debt has now been transferred to that new credit card that you've opened, and you've got that introductory period to pay it all down.
Dwayne, do you know what you're doing? Because if you don't, the Heal Squad doesn't. So you get to ask a question that the Heal Squad's wondering.
I think I do, actually.
Good.
Can I leave work early today?
You leave anyway. You leave whenever you want anyway, Dwayne. Why are you asking me? You show up when you want, you leave when you want, you do what you want. You wouldn't ask me for anything.
You know, I haven't been on banker's hours for a while, though.
Yeah, you would appreciate
We call
that.
it banker's hours.
Me and Dwayne, we operate on banker's hours. Have you ever heard that?
No,
That's a real old,
What does that mean?
probably 50s, 1950s. I guess like the VP of the bank would maybe come in at 11, leave at like 3.
Yeah.
So we would joke that we practice banker's hours. So him and I joke, and I'd be like, do we move any auto loans today?
Yeah.
Do we,
Yeah, because we'd be up
open
and
any
ready, and
savings
we'd be like,
accounts?
"Where's Dwayne?" And Dwayne's like, "Oh, I'll be there at 11." We're like, "Oh, okay."
After by savings and loan, it doesn't,
Yeah.
When
But
you're the
see,
VP of the
people
bank.
don't know how to do this stuff, and it's so invaluable to know that you don't have to just struggle. And I watch people around us just always struggling and not knowing that there are other ways.
Yeah.
And I feel so grateful that I read Tony's book when I did, because it changed so much for me financially, because I learned the back end of stocks and how they code things, and how that changes the interest rate that they charge you, and learning about fiduciaries versus, brokers, and how that is really affecting you. But making money off of your money, can you share for, let's say, Nike? Nike, are you saving?
Yeah, so I have I have a few accounts. I know that I use Charles Schwab.
Okay.
I think when you mentioned, I don't know what it is. I really just asked my parents. I'm like, I just want to have a good future. So y'all help me with that. I have something with SoFi as well. But like I said, I put that money in there and I just don't look at it. And I may have one more account. I know I have a few stocks somewhere. like I said, I owe a lot of it
I'm
to my
dead.
parents.
Yeah.
I don't really know where it is, but there is some savings somewhere. So yeah.
I encourage you, maybe this weekend, it's only going to take you 30 minutes. Go and open up all of these digital platforms, type in your username and password, see how much is in there, see what the performance has been for the past 6 months, and just make sure you're on the right track. Make sure you're actually seeing that, something is happening with your money. You want to make sure that you're actually invested. I can't speak exactly to what these accounts might be. Maybe with SoFi, you have a high yield savings account, or maybe you have an investment account. I don't know. But I think so many women in particular, we delegate the financial management in our lives to people we admire and respect. And in many cases, that's the men in our lives. It's our dads, it's our partners, what have you. But I hate to say this, the vast majority of us as women, we die alone because we outlive our partners. We'll likely outlive our parents. And you better know what's going on. You better know what the passwords are. All women need to have our own money, because I've gotten too many DMs, way too many DMs that are like, I had a wonderful marriage of 55 years. My partner just passed. I don't even know what the password to our bank account is.
Oh, wow.
And it's not anything malicious. The partner certainly was not trying to hide anything.
No.
Like, they had a happy marriage, but you need to be just as involved in your own financial picture as your parents are, as a partner might be, because that's your money. That's your life.
Yep.
And you should not give the pen of writing your story to somebody else.
You're so right.
It's part of strip. It's part of planning.
That's right, baby.
Because
right.
also, so much of your confidence will come from knowing what you have.
Yeah.
And knowing what you're doing and feeling safe that you have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
So my husband farms it out to me. Ironically, we're a very different story in our household. It's not me farming it out to the man is farming it out to the woman. But he knows that this is my area. I'm not as good as you, but I'm definitely somebody who's constantly learning.
But you guys should still do it together.
No, but I do. I bring him in on all
good.
big decisions,
Good.
so he understands. And his name is on everything too, so he has all the codes and stuff. Actually, I don't think you have the codes to Schwab, do you? You probably don't.
Nope.
No. We should
You guys gotta get those.
We gotta rewind and make sure he has that stuff, because he's really bad at keeping codes. Anyway, well, I feel like we learned a lot. I feel like I got stuff, Dwayne got stuff, Nike got stuff,
Kevin got
Spot
stuff.
got stuff, Kev got stuff. We all have a new rich BFF, guys.
I love that.
Kevin doesn't look really grateful over there, though. Honey, are you grateful?
It stresses me out.
Oh, we have more work to do. Let's have a part 2.
Yeah, we got to have a part 2.
All right, friends. And with that, come back tomorrow for part 2, where we encourage Kevin. And if you need encouragement through Kevin, you're going to get it too. In the meantime, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or mariamenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.